Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I want to give you lovely ladies and gentlemen another health update, mostly because I haven't been so great on the content creation side because I have been putting my energy and focus elsewhere, and I want to share what I've been doing as well as sourcing feedback and advice from people because I can only learn from others. So, a little bit of a backstory. So, on July 6, 2014, I suffered a serious injury while playing soccer. I was running forward and someone collided with me on the left-hand side of my chest. It caused my upper body between my neck and my waist to rotate violently counterclockwise while my head and lower body continued moving forward. I did not fall down, and I think if I had probably fallen down, it may have lessened the extent of the impact. Unfortunately, I went to the ER and I was told that I'm young, I'm healthy, and I should get better in a couple weeks, but that was sadly not the case. And in fact, for the first 6 months or so, I don't think I really could stand upright fully or let alone really walk around. It was quite horrible overall, and it was a big shift and change in my life. And then in terms of where the pain is now mostly located, it's in my lower back with a slight bias or a reasonable bias to the left hand side around the L4 L5 region, and then my neck as well. So what things have I tried? Well, it's kind of more so what I haven't tried. And I believe this is a pretty extensive list. And I've seen each of these individuals or multiple times, multiple different individuals. That includes, but possibly not necessarily limited to, pain specialists, spine orthopedic surgeons, neurologists, kinesiologists, physiotherapists. Had multiple different kinds of spinal injections, as well as ketamine and lidocaine infusions, which are done at a hospital where I'm hooked up to an IV and they flood the whole bloodstream with ketamine or lidocaine. And the idea is to try and reset the nervous system. Didn't work out, unfortunately. It's a really unique sensation, but it doesn't actually reset my nervous system, unfortunately. I've done things like prolotherapy. I've seen countless chiropractors or acupuncturists. I've been to multiple different pain clinics. I think all of the pain clinics, really, when I think about it, or at least all the notable ones in the greater Vancouver area, rehab centers. I've seen psychiatrists and psychologists and RMTs, and unfortunately, all of these specialists don't have a real solution for my problem. I still experience pain, unfortunately. And I did go to Thailand for medical tourism, and I went to 2 different hospitals, saw different specialists, and the outcome was essentially that they can't find anything structurally wrong with me. And that's obviously disheartening, but at the same time, it just essentially corroborates what the entire Canadian medical system has basically determined, is that I have pain, they don't know why. Yeah, basically that's it. They just don't know why. So, they can't really treat the pain because they don't know what's causing the pain. Well, obviously movement and just, existing causes more pain, but there's no, true solution because there's no actual diagnosis. And while I was in Thailand, I also did, a full spectrum of, medical health checkup, etc. And I look actually quite healthy from, a detached point of view. If you, look objectively at, my, health chart, I will seem to be reasonably fine. My blood looks good, my urine's good, I have a nice low resting heart rate, I have blood pressure that's below what it should, a good amount of not low blood pressure, but good blood pressure. I have no infectious diseases, no no problems, so to speak, that they can find. And in fact, one doctor actually called me handsome. So I don't know if that's a medical opinion or not, but little ego boost. I'll take it where I can. And essentially, they just have the same conclusions as to what the Canadian specialists have also determined. And essentially, the recommendations from all the specialists in Canada and Thailand, essentially a very distilled, bottled down advice would be just move as much as I can when I'm able to actually move. I'm not in danger, so to speak. Pain is actually an evolutionary response that has been developed over time to let humans know that they are in danger. Let's say you hurt your hand in some way, shape, or form. Well, you're going to experience pain, so you don't use that hand so it can heal and recover in a more timely fashion. So pain actually has a valuable reason to exist. And unfortunately for myself, it appears that my body just keeps thinking I'm in danger all the time. But neurologists, unfortunately, have never been able to find anything necessarily wrong. I think one of them mentioned to me, it was a pretty decent analogy, was that imagine my nervous system is a telephone that sits on a table. You pick it up, you hear a dial tone. Yes, it works. That's kind of the extent of what they can detect. However, yes, it is a dial tone and it works, but no one's actually making phone calls and no one actually contacts me, so to speak. So that's kind of perhaps maybe something along those lines, but essentially they said that like the best thing I can try and do is try to be happy and find meaning in life, which is definitely challenging. So what I have been doing since I got back from Thailand was not necessarily much content creation, but instead I've kind of reshifted and like changed my goals in life as to what I think is best for myself. But at that same moment, I think I can try to do a bit better in the content creation side because it is something I do enjoy. And either way, let's look at what I am trying to do to focus on what I can control and try not to overly stress about things that are beyond my control. So the thing that I'm doing the most right now is trying to raise my baseline health. And what I mean by that is that, like, let's say this is like my current health threshold right now, however healthy I am. If I can raise this a bit, I think that's going to result in improved quality of life for myself, because if I do raise that baseline of health, if and when decay does start occurring, at least I'm decaying from a higher base. To be fair, when I did get hurt originally, I was extraordinarily fit and healthy, like the whole like 6 or 8 pack, like just extremely fit, could run for hours on end. Like I could do all the athletic stuff. So I had a huge, obviously, decay, but I was decaying from a very high point. So I still look reasonable for someone who's been in this situation for 11 and a half years. Doesn't look it, but I'm pretty stubborn. Again, probably had good habits instilled in me at a younger age. So I'm trying, at least at this point in time, to kind of raise that baseline up slightly. And the best way for me to do that is utilizing the gym in my condo complex. I'm actually the third closest unit to the gym, so I don't have too much excuse not to necessarily go. And one nice thing about utilizing the gym is that everything is pretty well measurable. Like, for instance, if I utilize the stationary bike, it's a bike with like a backrest that goes up to maybe this height on my back. So it's a more comfortable place to sit in. I would utilize it and I would increase the duration by 1 minute maybe every other time I went. And that's something that's manageable and it's something I'm able to do. And at least at this point in time, I'm up to 30 minutes in a row, which is actually pretty great for myself when I think about it. Like, I don't get fatigued or like out of breath from it. I just stop because my back hurts more. So, making progress in that. And again, that's something that's measurable. And I think it's important to have measurable goals because you can actually track and see your progress. And again, I can apply that logic to like the bits of like weights I do lift. I do like lift some weights. I am actually now trying to incorporate some movement like above my head. Like above head movements tend to be extremely tough for me because like just this action does hurt my neck, but I'm trying to lift small amounts of weight above my head, like say like triceps, doing that sort of idea. And I'm able to have either like improve or increase the number of repetitions I can do, maybe not necessarily the number of sets, but each repetition per set, as well as maybe a little bit of weight increase for some exercises. And again, it's measurable, I can see the progress, and I think that is meaningful. And then a bit of my own self, which you're not gonna see because, no OnlyFans, but I think I've managed to move a little bit of weight from my tummy region. It wasn't much to begin with, but a little bit of it has like migrated north to here. So that feels a little nice. I look a little prettier in the mirror when I stare at myself before I take a shower. So like, again, like a little positive things. And it's just a matter of just doing it diligently. Like I've learned over time that it's better to do something, just something. Doesn't matter how much of it. Don't think you have to do everything to 100% or 110%. No, even like a 35% attempt at something is better than 0. And again, if I do like that, say 35% attempt, maybe I bump it up to like say 38% the next time and slowly increase it, make it manageable, like make your goals at least reasonable. And I think this is at least a reasonable goal. And I feel like I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and I have seen, again, like a little bit of progress, like, again, a bit of weight moving into the nicer parts of my body, as well as feeling at least a little more capable, or at least maybe slightly stronger. A good example was yesterday, instead of going to the gym, again, I'm not going every day, but instead of like going on a day that I planned to go, I decided to take that hour time frame, as about approximately how long I would go for, and just do a bit more cleaning around the condo. And it's nothing like super intense, but it's more than I normally would be able to do. And of course I pace myself, I sit down, and I was able to still get more done, and I felt like it was something I was able to accomplish with less strain overall. So that feels like some progress. And I know it may seem small, but for me, that is meaningful and significant. So I'm kind of happy about those results. And this is technically not necessarily an approach I've necessarily tried to do, so to speak, because a lot of like pain clinics there, I think there are two on the extreme end. Many of them are just like, we must get you back to work. Like, can you jump through like these hoops, so to speak, to say like you were certified to return to work? I never could jump through those hoops, of course, but like they would push you way too hard in way too short of a time period, as opposed to like this kind of very slow, gradual approach I'm able to do, because I do have a bit more time on my hands, so to speak. And the next area that I'm trying to improve my life, and something that I do have extreme control over, is improving my diet. And I already eat incredibly healthy, but I can still always have room for improvement. And I do cook things from scratch. Like, I buy raw ingredients and I transform them into beautiful food. And I think that's important because I control what goes into my food. I control like the process, the amounts, and it's still extremely tasty, and it works well for me. And I never grew up eating like processed packaged food. I don't eat junk food. I don't eat desserts. The only desserts I eat are fruit, and then maybe once in a blue moon, like those 70% like Lindor dark chocolate balls, which I absolutely love. I might have those maybe like once a week at most, maybe. Like, I'm pretty strict with my diet, so to speak. Like, I do end up drinking some beer because I do have now managed to have a better social life, which I'll kind of get to right now, because like, it does help. And then another thing that I've done with my diet that has also been helpful is that I try and eat to 80% fullness. Most of the time, that 80% is actually more than enough to keep me full. It's just being raised in North America or in Canada, we were definitely taught to like finish all your food on your plate, pile it up high, eat it all. And that just definitely encourages overeating. So again, eating to 80% fullness, as well as utilizing smaller bowls and plates, gives me the psychological advantage of thinking I'm eating more. Because let's say you have like this amount of food, size of my fist, and your bowl just barely fits that amount of food. Well, you think, well, I'm having a full bowl worth of food. Outstanding. But then if we take the same bowl or same portion of food, but the bowl is twice as big, you are going to feel like, maybe I'm not eating as much, because, it's like a fraction of the bowl. Maybe I just need to add more food, but you don't necessarily need to do that. And I also kind of just listen to my body of like, if I'm hungry, I'll eat, but I'll eat something on the healthier side. Sometimes if I want to snack, it's because I just want to put something in my mouth. It's not necessarily like a specific type of food. I just want a sensation. So good example is I make my own hummus. Like, I take chickpeas, I take like infused seasoned oil I make, maybe some like roasted garlic, blend it all up with various spices and herbs, and like, it's delicious hummus. Hummus is not necessarily bad. It has obviously a bit more caloric density potentially, but you know what? It's still calories I do need to have, but I'll have that with, say, like carrots and celery. I just want something crunchy, and then like that smoothness from the hummus is also like a nice texture diversity. Point of the matter is, find better snacks for when you want to nibble on something, and it becomes just a better habit overall. Like, I do technically have like snacks and munchies in my place because I do host like dinner board game parties like 2 to 4 times a week. So I make the main course for everyone. They're eating the healthy food I eat, and then I tell them to bring whatever they want, like beverages, desserts, appetizers, etc. They're responsible for everything. I do the main course. So like, I do drink some beer from time to time, some wine as well, but like, other than the socialization I don't necessarily consume those things, which I think is probably for the better for myself, because I'm not that active. And then that kind of transitions into like the third point of how I'm trying to improve my life, is just become a better friend and son. So like I just mentioned, I do host like these like dinner game night parties like 2 to 4 times a week. Like, sometimes I have people come over many days, and it's one of the best things ever because my friends are understanding and they know my situation. So like, by becoming a better host, and it's something I've actually done kind of like most of my life, but becoming a better host makes them come over on a regular basis. So like, Tuesdays, for example, are actually my like biggest game night, because that's where I have the largest group of people, because it's become such a regular thing that they know that, it's Tuesday, Jonathan's hosting, let's go to his place and have a great time. And like, people still come and show up. Like, yesterday we played Brass Birmingham. I made us like a spectacular like chili casserole. It was wonderful, and it helps because like, it's socializing that I don't necessarily get to do that often, and it does improve the friendships, because in all honesty, any relationship, whether it's friendship, romantic, or family, is strengthened just by simply doing things together. So doing things together on a weekly basis. Sometimes I see people like Jordan like potentially like 3 or 4 times a week. It's a wonderful outcome overall, and like, our friendships have definitely improved over time because of that. And then they also will help me out. Like, they know I have some difficulties with some tasks, but like, say Brett, for instance, he will oftentimes help me sometimes do grocery shopping, or like help me fix things around my condo that I'm not necessarily able to do as well. Like yesterday, one of the doors fell off of my cabinets, and it's kind of difficult for me to put it back up. Just it's hard for me, and they understand. And then I had like Brett and Brian, they both helped me and put the door back on. Like I had 2 engineers working on it, so I always now we joke that like, how many engineers does it take to put a door back on? Apparently it's 2, one to mess up and one to fix the mistake. Either way, friends have definitely helped improve my mental side for my health overall, and I'm happy about that. So I did kind of a similar idea for my parents. Like I see my parents like once a week, like Mantastic'c, who some of you actually probably might have seen it multiple times in my streamer videos. But like we do things together. Well, I feed them most of the time. Occasionally my mom takes me out for dim sum, which is a wonderful outcome. But like I'll cook things for them. I'll give them care packages to take home with food so they don't have to worry about the dinner like the later that night or like the following day. Just make their lives better. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. But the drawback is this kind of increase in especially physical activity does give me significantly more downtime just because there is more pain. Like I do more movement, I hurt more unfortunately, and then I have to spend that time recovering. And it's not obviously the greatest outcome. And my hope is that in maybe 6 months when I get a little bit more used to like this like higher level of activity, so to speak, that maybe my body like adjusts a bit more, or I can just like retweak what I do. But like the idea is like I'm hoping that I can raise my baseline up, and then once I've kind of like stabilized at that newer higher baseline, things should hopefully become a bit more manageable. But even so, like I mentioned, like with the whole like cleaning around the condo, I was able to do so a little easier than I have historically. And like again, I think that's still meaningful for myself. But obviously, one drawback of this is that I'm quite fatigued. And even like making this video was a little intimidating, like, cause like I feel more tired, I feel in more pain, and it definitely dampens my enthusiasm to do stuff. And of course, content creation requires a bit of enthusiasm to be, you know, palatable and watchable. So I'll try to make a better effort. I'm thinking of things I could possibly do, but of course, if you ladies and gentlemen can give me feedback of what things I might be able to do, that would definitely help me out tremendously. And all these challenges and hurdles are problematic because we definitely live in a world where like wealth and status tend to be kind of the benchmarks of success. And because I've kind of like determined that like I guess like my purpose almost right now is just to improve my baseline health, it may not seem that like grand or ambitious overall, but I think I'm still managing as well as I can given the situation I'm in. Doesn't help that I'm trying to do online dating, and it's, well, quite challenging. I've had multiple people like kind of reject me simply because I've talked about my back problems, and like it's understandable, but it doesn't feel nice inside. Maybe in a future video, if there is interest, I could maybe like share my dating profile with you, and you can critique and give me advice on how I can improve my chances. Like it's a huge kind of like topic with my friends of like, when do I bring up my back issues when I do like dating? Like, is it the first date, second date, third date? Like, when is a good time? Spoiler, there's no good time actually. It's a terrible conversation to have, but feedback is always helpful. Like, again, I don't know everything, but maybe the internet knows everything. But as like kind of like a parting message, so to speak, I am improving. And I think it is good to celebrate these like small wins, so to speak. Like, I think my physical health is ever so slightly higher than before, and I think that is important, and I think I'm doing at least the right thing at this point in time, because like I said, I'm not in danger of hurting myself more than I am right now, so to speak, in the sense that like I'm not going to cause like long-term lasting problems. I'm just going to have more pain, unfortunately, but I hope that this increased pain intensity is a short-term thing, and when I raise that baseline up to like a more satisfactory level, things might stabilize. But again, feedback from you ladies and gentlemen will help, like ideas of what to do. Like, I'm definitely less interested in pad, unfortunately, and even just other video games. I haven't really found a game that I really like enough, but I don't know, maybe variety streaming, maybe like reviewing games, like quick little stuff like the Peglin video and Ball X Pit stuff I did. Maybe those are interesting, maybe not. But either way, thank you so much to you lovely ladies and gentlemen to listening to me kind of like ramble on almost for a good almost 20 minutes. But I do appreciate it. Like, I think I have built a nice and healthy community online, and it's not wrong of me to want to try and like draw upon that community for feedback. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions for like exercises or motions I can do that might improve my overall life overall. And again, if like the whole online dating thing you think it's worthwhile, maybe I'll share my profile and you can critique it and help me out. Either way, hopefully all you lovely ladies and gentlemen have a truly fantastic day. I wish the best luck in your own pet adventures, life adventures, and happy puzzling.